otherwise known as the Delightful Planner, and I am back after a very long hiatus with a new video today. This is going to be all about my one book July. You may have noticed that there are currently two planners on the table, and they're two very different sizes, because I'm going to do what I always swore I never would do for one book, well, for any time of year, not just July, and I'm going to be moving from A5 to A6. So I'm going to quickly explain the reasons why, and then I'm going to give you a walkthrough of my new setup. So I've been in an A5 Hobonichi Cousin since the beginning of 2017, and that's worked beautifully all last year. And then this year I've been making it work, but it's been obvious for quite some time that it's just not working for me. I have chronic back pain and it's been flaring up, and I've got some issues that's been going on with one of my feet at the moment. And what's been coming apparent is that I just have to reduce the amount that I carry. Sorry, back again. Had to do an edit already because I already figured out that I had like mountains of personal information on display there. You know, I said I had problems with my foot. I've got my foot appointment that I was showing off there in my letter. So yes, I worked out that this was just too heavy, but I did want to stay in the Hobonichi because it lays flat. It's got that gorgeous Hobonichi, Tomoe River paper. I can't talk today, it's so hot. You could probably hear the birds tweeting outside. It lays flat, it writes beautifully on it, and you've got that sort of room to spread out where you've got your time ladder down the side here to put your appointments. You can write your to-do list there. That actual system worked brilliantly for me. It was the weight that wasn't working for me. And I'd always thought an A6 was just going to be too small. It just wouldn't work. But if I had to go smaller and I wanted it to still stay in a Hobonichi, I was either having to go and start looking at Hobonichi weeks, and I thought that wouldn't work because I do like being able to look at weeks and at a day-to-day view, as you'll be able to see in some of my other videos. I'll link one of the how I plan videos below there. So I took the plunge and I ordered an A6 Avec. So that's just half a year Hobonichi, is it Techao? I'm probably hideously mispronouncing it. Apologies to anybody who can actually pronounce it. Or Techao, which is basically everything that the A5 planner is. So I'm pointing that direction because that's what the planner is, but it's slimlined down. So what I'm going to be doing for July is I used some leather that I already had laying around that needed to be made use of because it's beautiful Horween leather. I have used it before when I've made journals. So trying a new size. I didn't want to go out and instantly invest, move that back in the middle again, in a new planner. Make sure it's focusing on it there. So here at the very front I've basically just got, it was a free notebook that came with Flow magazine, as you can see at the back there. And this is just so that I've got some scratch paper for if I need to make notes, or if the kids go, Mummy, I want to draw on something, and I don't want to give them some Tomoe River paper to write on. And then here, I did actually buy the spring edition of the weekly insert that goes with the A6 Hobonichi. Although they've probably announced this and made it really obvious on the website, I was slightly surprised to find out it is just a touch smaller, which does make sense. Because obviously if you get one of the official Hobonichi covers, this will then just be able to slot into the back. But it does mean you've got a touch less space to play with. So if I flip to, I'm trying to think where I want of anything too discerning. There we go. So you've got slightly less space to play with. You can see here I've already adjusted the time ladder so it actually just fits within what I would consider like a day for me. You know, I get up at 6, but you know, before at 6 o'clock I'm just getting ready, so I won't be having any appointments through then, just so I'd have a little bit more space to write on. and I've just noted down which of the days of the week are. You wouldn't think I'd get confused, but when you're getting busy and you're writing about in the middle, I got worried I might go slightly amiss. So I have actually gone through and done this on every page. Because this is the spring version, it does start in April and it runs all the way through to the end of March next year. So you do still get a full year's worth in this week's insert, but look how thin that is for a whole year, 12 months. I've only got tabs in at the side at the moment to run through to December, just because that's how many I'd need for my appointments right now. So I've got my weeks there, and then I've got my Hobonichi, I'm going to say Tachao, apologies again if it's wrong, original, because this is the first planner that they did bring out, but they've released the Avec version where it just runs, you can get them in half years. So this one is for the latter half of the year, so it started 1st of July, helpful for One Book July, and it runs out at the end of December. And look at that. That is a day per page, plus it's got the month view as well. It doesn't have the weekly viewing, which is why I got that separate weekly insert, but it means that that is the day's insert. Now again, let me find a page. I'll quickly try and flick to one that makes sense. See, I've only just started using this. So let me flip to today. At the moment I am adjusting the time ladder just to give me a bit more space to play with for writing in my appointments, and also just so I'm not leaving so much blank space. Otherwise, if I flick to a blank page, you can see there it's got, you know, 6 AM, 9 AM, 12, 3, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then it's midnight and 3 AM. I wouldn't be needing any of this slot here, and I didn't want to leave that blank. And then otherwise, I do with the exact same planning that I've always done, where it's a case of my top tasks for the day will go there. I have a running to-do list that runs down here, and it should keep me on track. I practiced this before I started my One Book July. I did say I can't talk today. One Book July. By trying to condense how I was using my A5 Hobonichi, because when I was flicking through, I was noticing that I frequently had a lot of spare space in it. Because I wanted to check this wasn't just the summer itch where you always want to start switching to a smaller planner. So that's my day-to-day planning.